Hey guys, my name is Christina.
My name is Brian, and welcome to What the Fuck Did I Just Watch?
Where every week we will be rolling a 26-face die that will determine the first letter of the movie we will watch this week.
The twist is that one of us, or both of us, have never seen the movie before.
So join us as we share our thoughts on the movie.
I mean, that's gonna be horrible, but yes, absolutely.
Have a few laughs.
Stop it. And discuss what the fuck we just watched.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another exciting episode. I am here with my best friend Pants.
Hello.
How was your week, dude?
I mean, same shit, different week. Yeah. Better, no, I was gonna say better movie this week, but I disagree with myself, so.
Oh, well, is that because you really like Evil Dead?
Yes, exactly. But this week was your pick.
This was very different from the movie we watched last week.
Yes, and that it was not as good.
Oh, man. So last week when you guys joined us, we did roll the letter H.
Mm-hmm.
We were flipping through different movie options, and we did settle on Hardcore Henry. It came out in 2015, and it took until 2021 for me to watch it, which is fine. But it's available on Netflix, which is how we saw it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so sorry. I always laugh. So Netflix shows you the rating of the movie when you're watching it, and it's at the top left. Well, not the rating, but it talks to you about
like the percentage that it matches your algorithm.
No, where it talks about
the rating, like
it breaks down
like
why
the
the rating
rating
is yes.
Okay.
And the very first part of that rating for this movie is non-stop bloody, brutal violence and mayhem.
Accurate.
I have never seen a more accurate description for a movie. This was intense.
Indeed. Yeah.
And it really didn't stop. Just a quick note, by the way. We do give out spoilers.
Yes.
We talk about the movie pretty in depth and in detail. So if you haven't seen it and you are interested in watching it, if you don't mind being spoiled, sure, hang out with us. We're going to talk about it. If not, pause us here.
Well, we can give like our initial just didn't we like it?
Yeah.
Like, do we recommend?
I was going to circle back and
well, you said pause right here. So if they pause right there, there would be no circling back till afterwards.
Oh my God, I hate you.
Just saying.
Okay.
That's what you're telling people.
Shut up.
Okay.
Pants, in your opinion, was this movie nonstop bloody, brutal violence and mayhem?
I don't think that's an opinion. More like it's more of a fact. No, the whole movie from the opening credits to the very last scene is violence and blood and gore. Very entertaining. I really did like this movie. I assisted Tina in picking this.
Yes.
Because she had never seen it.
No.
And I thought it was enough outside of your comfort zone that you would still enjoy it, but not be super put off by it as you have been.
Sure.
With some of my picks.
So I forgot to ask you, had you seen this movie prior to us watching it?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I had only seen it one time. Nope, that's a lie. I had seen it twice, but...
You've watched this movie twice?
Well, 3 times now, because you watched it over here again.
Who am I kidding? I was like, wait, I've watched it 3 times. It kind of reminds me of Requiem for a Dream, where I started it, fell asleep. I didn't fall asleep to this, because I actually had to change it, because you cannot fall asleep to this movie.
No, I had seen it when it came out. I watched it with my husband a few years ago, and I watched it last night prior to recording, and I finished it again with you a couple hours ago.
Yeah.
So, and that was your second time watching it.
Yeah, I finished it last night, but I hadn't taken very good notes. I can't do what you do. Like, I cannot look at the TV and write notes, because then they all blend into each other, and it messes with me that I can't read what I wrote.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have my own, like, shorthand that I can kind of... So, what are your overall thoughts? Without going too much into detail.
Sure. I really like the action part of it. I thought that was really
just
cool.
Just that part?
Are you going to let me talk? Do you want to hear my opinion?
That's the whole movie. So you like the whole movie?
Okay, well, yes. God, stop talking.
This is a co-hosted podcast. I can talk.
Okay. Well, you asked me a question, so do you want my
Don't
answer?
silence
Or are
me,
you
woman.
going? Oh my God. Okay. So I did like the action part of the movie. I'm not a huge fan of the amount of brutal violence that was in here, because there was a lot of blood. There were a lot of cringy moments. I've said this before. I'm very empathetic. And so even when I'm watching something that I know is staged or fake or whatever the case may be, like my mind immediately goes to, oh my God, that would hurt so much. Mm-hmm. And that's like the thought that was in my head almost the entire movie, because the opening credits, it's like while you're watching it, it's slowly introducing you to what the movie is going to kind of have. And I even think that it gets more violent and more brutal as you're going through the credits, and you kind of have that decision where you can either continue watching this movie or change it to Disney Plus and watch WALL-E. Like
is that what you did to go to sleep?
I did. I love WALL-E. So overall it was a pretty good movie. I think the second time around watching it, I wasn't as like shocked.
You're a little more desensitized.
Yes. So it was easier for me to like kind of follow. The thing that I think that lacked in this movie was like an actual like plot. But as far as like action, if you're into that, if you're into watching all that violence and just like this guy just annihilate anyone that crosses his path, this would be the movie for you.
Agreed.
Yep.
Okay. So from here on out, we will be spoiling.
Yes.
So tune out if you haven't seen it and you want to. Stick around if you have and you want to hear us. I was going to say bitch about it, but I'm not really going to be bitching.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. If you want to hear us talk about it.
Or if you like spoilers, you can hang around too.
Yeah, if you're just a masochist like that. Yeah.
Pants doesn't like that.
No. Fuck you guys.
Okay, so straight from IMDb. Henry is resurrected from death with no memory, and he must save his wife from a telekinetic warlord with a plan to bioengineer soldiers. Which... Where did the telekinetic come in? That to me, the moment that character is introduced and he started throwing things around with his hands, but, you know, telekinetically, I was very taken aback. I mean, I understand that this kind of technology is not here now, but I think it would have been even more convincing had the bad guy not been telekinetic. Like, that felt like super randomly plugged in there to make him bad. Like, you can't approach him because he will like yeet you out of the vicinity. Right.
There was actually, I'm not sure if it was prior or after this movie came out, but there was actually I believe a short comic that was supposed to be like a prequel, kind of give you some backstory for Akan.
Okay.
So yeah, it did give you some backstory on Akan, and I did pull up the wiki page for the character and went to the background section, and I was just going to read a little portion of it, just, I guess, to kind of fill in whatever gaps the movie left out.
Okay.
Which were a lot.
Yeah.
So Akan was born during the Chernobyl crisis to a mother who was already dead. The newborn Akan was found by a man whose incompetence was partly to blame for the disaster, a man who later became his foster father. The disaster stripped Akan of his body's melanin, and he suffered cancer before his first birthday. His foster father conducted experimental therapy on the child at an early age, which may or may not have been the source of his telekinesis. It's unknown whether the father's experiments awakened that or if it was caused by the Chernobyl incident. That part's not really gone into.
Okay.
From what I can read on this. I didn't do like a super deep dive on it. But yeah, so he's Russian. That's obvious. Like the whole movie is based in Russia. He's just like your super stereotypical villain. Like he's straight out of a video game villain. Just like super mustache twirly, wants to take over the world villain. And I mean, the whole movie is a video game, right? So it's very much a first person shooter.
Beast mode.
Yeah. Just like adrenaline nonstop. And there's even like the weird side characters that kind of explain to you what your mission is.
Yeah.
And it's just all very much like watching somebody play a video game. And I had no problem with that. I mean, I thought it was entertaining.
No, I thought that was cool. One thing that I do enjoy, I'm not a big gamer. And I think it's the lack of dexterity and my ability to use all those controls. Like, when I watch people play, I have no idea how they can keep up. Like, I've tried playing, and I mean, big props to y'all. I have not been able to master that whatsoever. I played Spider-Man on, like, friendly Spider-Man level, and I quit within, like, 10 minutes because I could not figure it out. That was on PS4, by the way. Or 3. Do I have a 3? No, I have a 4 because the 5 just came out.
The Amazing Spider-Man is what you're talking about.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You said friendly or something.
No, that was like...
Oh, friendly mode.
Yeah.
Got it.
And I still couldn't... I felt... that was a very low point in my life.
Well, if that's your low point, I think you're doing okay.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't the low point in my life. It was a low point in my life.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a lot of gamer friends, like, that are super into that world. And again, mad respect for y'all. I like watching it, but I could never...
I hate watching people play video games.
Oh, really? Does it give you, like, anxiety or...
That, and it's just boring if I'm not doing it.
Oh, because I can't do it, I find it entertaining.
I like watching people like you. Because it's funny.
Wow.
But also gives me anxiety because you have no idea what you're doing.
Okay, thanks so much.
Yeah.
So anyway, on to ratings. Jerk. So, like I said previously, this movie did come out in 2015.
The IMDb rating for Hardcore Henry was 6.7. The Rotten Tomatoes was 52% with a 54% audience score. So I think out of all the movies we've done, that's the one that is the closest, I guess, between the Rotten Tomatoes and audience.
It's pretty even between like and dislike. Like, you either really liked this movie or you really didn't. Their budget for the film was estimated to be about $2 million. And it looks like in the USA that opening week, they did make $5 million. And I think they grossed in total, it was like 16 mil, if I'm not mistaken.
So in the US and Canada, gross was about 9.25 million.
I did worldwide.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I think it definitely helped budget-wise that they didn't really have big name actors in this.
Sure.
Like the main character, Henry, I think was played by just 10 different stuntmen. So...
And even the director played him at one point in time, is what I read.
So it's... I think, to me, the most recognizable face was Tim Roth in the beginning, who played his dad. And I did recognize the actor that played Jimmy from
District 8.
District 9.
9. Why did I say 8? District 9,
idea.
Sorry.
It was mostly like a Russian cast. As you mentioned earlier, from the very beginning, in the opening credits, it's just wall-to-wall violence,
Slow
blood.
motioned, very...
Right.
It just gets worse and worse.
So it's just slowly getting worse in the way that it's showing these kills happen in the opening credits. And it really sets the stage, as you said at that point, for the rest of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Like, now's your time to get out if you're not into these opening credits.
Right. The credits seem very PG in comparison to the actual movie.
Yeah. So from the very beginning, the story is told through Henry's eyes, from his point of view. Again, very much first-person shooter, video game style. And he's waking up in this lab and being put back together by a blonde woman who says her name is Estelle, and who she says is his wife. And he has no recollection of this. Throughout the whole movie, he has no memory. There's apparently a memory block installed in him because he's half cybernetic now. So she's attaching his left arm, which is completely robotic, and uses different lasers and machines and shit to put a fake skin on it so it looks normal. Screws on his left leg and just tells him pretty much that this is you now.
Right.
Like, I'm your wife. I love you, blah, blah, blah. You don't remember me, but I remember you. And gives him his wedding ring. It's
like the only 5 minutes of the movie that has absolutely no blood in it.
There's no blood, but it's still really uncomfortable because, like, you're seeing, again, from his point of view, his left leg is just spinning from the knee down.
Did it bother you?
It didn't bother me, really. It was just like, I don't know how to describe it. I'm not going to say it bothered me. It's a cool image, but at the same time, it was like the...
I think it was probably just disorienting because like we
Sure.
don't even know what's going on. He's just waking up in this place. This woman is just like feeding him information that we're just supposed to take.
Mm-hmm.
And even him as a character, like you can tell that he's a little uncertain until she hands him the wedding ring, and then he buys it.
Right.
And from then on out, like Estelle is his wife.
Right. And there's an attack on this lab that they're in, which turns out is in like a blimp, it looks like.
Yeah.
And they...
I have to stop you really quickly because I think that's definitely like the first big violent scene. And it was so horrific to me that door like blew up, crushed that guy, and then here comes Aiken like walking on the door, and you can hear the body crunching.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they don't shy away from it at all.
I'm letting you know right now that made my stomach turn.
And yeah, Aiken is introduced, who is this kind of albino looking
Russian evil man.
That's about it.
He clearly has money or power or something because he has all these armed guards.
Oh yeah, we learn he's making a cybernetic army, really, and Henry is part of that.
Yeah.
But he's throwing things around without touching them, so that's your kind of first introduction to him being telekinetic. And
which again is so weird.
It's weird, and I thought it was just even with like that comic or whatever that gave him a backstory, I just thought it was a really over the top. Not that the whole movie isn't over the top, but an over the top choice to make this super villain super villainy.
Yes.
You know, like just give him an army.
Yeah.
Make him cybernetic, or like the next gen cybernetic or something, and just make him better than Henry. Like maybe he's his own test subject, or he's a beta version or something. And maybe that's how he can do the telekinesis shit. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
it just felt very like misplaced. To me anyway.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, you just kind of buy it and go with it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Once they get past him for the first time and they escape and they use the escape pod to get out of the blimp, there's, another battle in the streets of Russia. During this battle with one of Aiken's lackeys and his army or whatever, Henry starts running low on juice, I guess. His battery's getting low. And he starts, getting weak. And that's when we're first introduced to Jimmy, who pops up over and over and over again in the movie, which was really confusing to me. Even though watching it for this show was the third time I had seen it, I had forgotten about this huge through point for the movie, that Jimmy is just indestructible in your mind for part of it until you realize how he's doing it.
Right.
Because he just keeps dying.
Yeah.
He's the...
That was super confusing for me, too. I think that the first time that he dies is in the car. They get into a car crash, but, like, his
head's
insides
exploded.
are, like, exploded.
Yeah.
And then you see him on the bus again, but this time he's dressed as, like, a homeless man. And I just remember, like, talking to Liv about it, being like, didn't he just die? What is happening?
And then when he died again as the homeless guy, I was like, okay, maybe this is a thing. Because both these guys who I thought were Jimmy have both just like, it's like Kenny on South Park, right? Like he just keeps fucking dying, but he's back. And, then he just shows up throughout the movie in these different personas. He comes back as like this hippie, super heavy pot smoker. And another one, he's like a cokehead in a...
gentleman's club of some kind.
Yeah. I mean, it's a sex club, I believe.
But that Jimmy's character continues to kind of come back. And he even pointed to it when he died that second time outside of the bus. He's like, I'll be in touch. And I was like, yeah, you will. Apparently you don't die.
But I thought that reveal was pretty cool, that Jimmy ends up being...
quadriplegic.
Yeah, this like wheelchair bound, kind of Stephen Hawking-esque.
Just incredibly intelligent, but
he's bound to a chair, right? And he's using these avatars pretty much to get out into the world. And he puts this headset on, and he's able to control them out in the world one at a time. And they all have, their different personas. and they all apparently get laid all the time. And a lot of them do a lot of drugs. And
he, like, when they were in the gentleman's club or sex club or whatever, and they're having that really intense fight scene, and they both end up behind the bar, and Jimmy literally like brings out this sandwich bag of just cocaine and just shoves it in his face. What? I was so like taken aback by that. I mean, he had been doing drugs the entire time.
Right.
I think at that point we've seen him, or maybe that was the first time we'd seen him do drugs, but either way, he does them throughout the entire movie. But that is a lot of cocaine.
I mean, it was a full sandwich bag, and he just buried his face in it. But I mean, you know, in hindsight, it doesn't matter, because if that one dies, you got many more. So it's this guy's like weird but kind of awesome way of just living all these lives that he can't.
Yeah.
I liked Jimmy's backstory, I think.
Yeah.
More than any other character in the movie. And I think he's the most fleshed out. Yeah. Honestly. I would almost argue that even though he's not in the title, he's more the star of this movie than Henry is.
Yes.
Because he gets more screen time in the way that we see his face. Mm-hmm. And he has an arc. Like, his story, you know, goes back to Aiken and how he was helping him make this cybernetic army. And the army kind of turned on him and ended up breaking his spine.
Aiken did. So he's in there and
he does the telekinesis.
He's like begging him to let him out. That part, that actually like made me incredibly uncomfortable, because I think Aiken's even having like a little monologue there where he's like,
he's always monologuing. Oh my God,
yeah, he's so annoying. He's like, nothing beats like cracking a spine or something, and then like you see Jimmy's body hit the floor and you hear that crack, and the way that he's kind of like contorted on the floor. I thought he was dead, but clearly he's not, right? But Aiken, you just get a sense for like how evil this man is, that he caused an injury to him that would still keep him alive, but cause him to be wheelchair bound.
Right. Yeah, I just thought, again, he definitely had the better arc of everybody in the movie. Fucking Aiken's like, yeah, you mentioned Aiken's monologues, and I feel like they went way too villainy with him. Like, yeah, he does the thing where he, you know, reveals his whole plan when the good guy is down, and I mean that's kind of to be expected,
right?
And I honestly feel like with the backstory that we now know from him, that would have actually been better in the movie.
Yeah,
I don't know how we would have seen it.
Should have been like a Justice League thing where like the very beginning of the movie you just kind of watch this little baby, this little albino baby like move things around in like Justice a League room or something. Well, because in Justice League he starts the movie kind of showing where Batman v Superman ended, right? And so same way, it should have been just like little highlights of this little boy like
that's such a stretch,
moving things around in a room, and then you're like, what is going on?
Nothing to do with
and
each
then the
other.
thing that matches when he's an adult is his eyebrows. They were so intense. His
whole look was intense.
Yes, I agree. I think they went a little overboard, but they were very like thick. It reminded me very much of Eugene Levy, but like he works his eyebrows, and this man does not.
Correct. Dan needs to help him out with his eyebrows.
I like how we tie in all the shows that we really love.
Dan Levy. But yeah, it definitely would have been hard to bring that in somehow, since I think the whole shtick of the movie is it being a first-person movie. Did you understand what was going on with the proto-baby that Jimmy had?
No.
Okay. It was just very creepy looking.
I agree.
Like I was going to ask you about it. Like a little Benjamin Button old man baby.
I guess the way that he's doing his avatars is like he's...
like growing them?
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know where his technology comes in versus like Aiken's or Estelle's, or like how those two are similar or different.
Right.
I know that Jimmy at one point in time says that he stopped making cyborgs and he finally like was able to make what he had been going for, I guess, the whole time.
Right.
So maybe the avatars are different in the sense that they're not cyborgs. They're like,
yeah. I mean, I can assume that Aiken and Jimmy were working together, maybe not as partners, but
it definitely sounds like Aiken was
like always in charge.
Him.
Right.
Yeah.
But it kind of seemed like Jimmy was working in this company or whatever, this organization, in order to like fulfill his dreams for cloning or whatever he's doing.
As soon as I said forcing, I remembered that there's a scene where Jimmy says that Aiken is like crazy and a psychopath, but he was funding the project, so he just went with it.
Oh, so he was like just the person behind the scenes, kind of.
Yeah.
What a dick.
Whoa.
Oh my goodness, great minds.
You would like to go first? Go for it.
Oh, ladies first.
Oh, okay.
Okay, here I go. No, go.
I hate you. So while they're in the gentleman's club, there's like the two, like you look it up online, it says like dominatrix biker chicks. But one of them was played by, and I'm so sorry if I say this name wrong, but it's Daria Charusha.
Nailed it.
Nice. And she's actually the film's composer. I thought that was a really fun fact.
Did not know that.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, look at her playing double duties as a slut and a composer.
Wow. She was a
Can you not say slut?
pretty awesome dominatrix.
Was she the one that was in the room when Aiken sent the platter plate through the guy's head?
No, it's the two girls that are dressed in black that kind of like just show up and start helping, which, by the way, we never really figure out why they're there.
What's their backstory? What's their spinoff?
Je ne sais pas. But now that you said the tray thing, that was another shocking one. I mean, again, this whole movie is nothing but violence, nothing but like bloody deaths, really gruesome injuries. But there are a couple that like really stick out in my mind. And the tray was one of them because I wasn't anticipating it. And the way that it just like sliced so perfectly through his skull, that was sickening.
Yeah, so it's for people who don't know what we're talking about. It's like a silver platter tray that you would bring a meal on or something like that.
Go back to like middle school, like those trays that you used to carry your lunch on, but make it like a silver serving tray. It kind of had like that dimension-y like look to it, and then just imagine it slicing a freaking head in half, and then you'll have that scene.
Extra bit to imagine. Like, I think I was doing a good job.
I don't like the way that you explain things, so I have to interject.
So take the school tray that you're used to, but really nothing like it except for the shape.
Yeah.
Make it silver, shiny, flat. None of the little compartments. So nothing like the tray.
No, I'm talking about literally a lunch tray. That's why you were confused, is because you put compartments in it. I didn't say compartment tray.
My school had the little compartments in it that you put different things in.
No, mine was flat. And then you would grab your stuff and put it on there. Like food court.
It's not like you went to a poor school.
Wow.
I'm kidding. I know the school you went to. They had more money than mine, so it's fine. Ours was the poor one. That's why I got that education.
Yeah. So we can go back to the movie here in a minute, but I want to hear what like death or gruesome injury was the biggest like trigger or the most uncomfortable for you. I know you probably wrote something down. Maybe you didn't, but I have a top 3. So I wanted to see if you had any.
Had a ranking. I wish you would have prepared me for that.
Sometimes I like to,
I gave you a heads up on my surprise questions.
Okay, but that had a little more detail to it. So
yeah, whatever.
Thanks for the heads up.
Sure.
And also this is recorded, so if you wanted to, you could take a moment to think about it.
So I think... So I'm not going to say, and this probably just makes me sound like a psychopath, but none of them were disturbing to me, just because I think you're pretty quickly desensitized to everything within the first 20 minutes.
I was not the first time watching it through.
Okay. I was. Especially after coming off of Evil Dead. I mean, it's definitely more realistic violence, but there's still things with eyeballs.
Yeah. I think that gets me though. Like when it's more realistic, that's
Okay.
when my empathy is like higher.
So the first guy that Henry is chasing, Dinkley is his name, is what I have written down. That could be wrong. But the guy in the suit.
Yeah.
And he grabs him in the middle of the street, I guess, or in the middle of this court of some sort.
Mm-hmm. After hitting him with the champagne bottle.
Right. And of course we're in Henry's POV, and Henry's just like holding him by like the collar. So they're eye to eye, and then his head just fucking explodes because somebody shot him from behind or something.
And all that's left is this like...
It's like this U-shaped, like just his jaw is left on his neck, and like that I was kind of like taken aback by, but I was like, that was pretty cool. Like, but also, how did Henry not get shot in the head?
Yeah.
Whatever. And then
spirit holes.
No, I'm not doing spirit holes. And then I would say in the very final like battle between Henry and Aiken, Henry, I guess, has his eye ripped out. And again, we're back on the spirit hole, so this is kind of Evil Dead-ish. He has his eyeball ripped out, and of course it's a cybernetic eye, so it has like wiring and shit connected to it. And he takes his eye and wraps it around Aiken's neck.
It's his like face. Like he puts it through his mouth.
Right. So it's like a gag. He's using his like eye wires to gag him. And it's not disturbing, but it's one of those scenes, and there's a couple of them in the movie where Henry's eyes aren't totally in sync with each other.
Yeah.
And you can see that he is looking two different directions at once.
Mm-hmm.
And this was one of those ones where the eyeball is being wrapped around Aiken's head. So half of our POV through Henry is just wrapping around and around this guy's head.
Mm-hmm.
You know, is that what ends up killing him?
Yeah, because he pulls it, and then
then his head gets chopped.
It like chops him at the mouth.
Mouth up, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like Dinkley.
Yes. That was a running theme in this movie.
That happened. I did also, again, this is not disturbing. I think these two just kind of made me laugh. Right after Dinkley dies in the court. I'm
glad you're bringing it up.
You see, like, Henry, I guess, is laying on the ground, like he was knocked out or knocked down. And you see this little, like, black dog scurrying across, like, his POV. And he has a leash attached to him. And behind him, trailing on the leash, is somebody's, like, severed arm. It's just, like, from the wrist up. And he's just dragging it along. It's like, the dog is free now.
That was so disturbing.
It was so good.
I was like, poor puppy.
I was like, look at the dog. I love it. And then that one scene, I think I commented to you earlier on, where they're in like it looks like a parking garage. I'm not even sure where they are, but it's like this big concrete structure, and Henry throws a grenade down a little stairwell.
Oh yeah.
And
that was Jimmy's lab.
Oh,
he
Jimmy's
has his lab hidden in there. Yeah. It's like an abandoned building in a forest.
Sure.
It's very strange.
And it's in Russia. And he just throws the grenade down the stairwell, and it explodes, and you just see like somebody's torso just like kind of flop up and then fall back down.
But
and there's a little
him.
scream.
Like, ah!
Oh, I liked it.
Yeah,
it was good.
What
was about
ridiculous.
I know that I steered off your question a
That's
lot.
Okay.
But did you have a favorite?
I wouldn't call it a favorite.
I would.
But I think the top 3 cringiest moments for me, and believe me, they were not far above the rest of the movie, because they're, again, a lot of violence. It's at the end when all the cyborgs are attacking him, and he's literally battling like 100 people. Mm-hmm. That's why I said like it's beast mode. Mm-hmm. And I think, I don't remember exactly how it plays out, but essentially Henry grabs this guy, smashes his head against a building and then drags him down, like his head's still attached. And I had to look away because I was like, like, that was such a trigger for me. I just like my gag reflex started going because it was like, it was too much. It was too much. And immediately following that, like less than 10 seconds later, somebody flies into a fan and it's just like blood gushing out of this fan. And that also, I was like, oh, okay, that was too much.
That reminded me of the first episode. This is your one Lost mention. It reminded me of the first episode of Lost where somebody gets sucked into the like the turbine engine of the plane. There's no blood really.
No, it just explodes.
Yeah.
But yes.
That's immediately what it reminded me of. Lost is Covenant for Life.
And my third one we've already mentioned was the silver freaking lunch tray.
It's not a fucking lunch tray. I'm glad they had silver platters at your high school.
I just hated so much that he was like, so, you know, essentially Henry walks in on Aiken, this like older big guy and a prostitute. I'm just gonna call her that for the sake of the story, but sure. He goes, please don't hurt me, I have a wife and kids or whatever, and Aiken's like, where's your family now, or is this your wife or something like that? And so like the guy's like, oh shit, like you're right, why am I, and then boom, like he doesn't even have time to like think it through. It's just like Trey. And like
Aiken also has some of like the worst, I don't want to say worst lines, but the worst like little villainy, funny. Kind of, yeah, just like villainy things to say.
Yeah,
like he said something about whenever Henry escapes, I think the lab or one of the buses with Estelle, and he comes on the camera inside the bus.
Yeah.
And he's like, it was
that tea and sugar comment.
Yeah, it was something like,
if I was drinking tea, I wouldn't need any sugar.
But all Russian-y.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
And then he fires a gun into the...
So that was the other thing. Like, okay, this is the big plot twist, right? So at the end of the movie, you find out that Estelle is actually married to Aiken, or they're dating, or they're lovers, or whatever the case may be. For Estelle being a part of this, like, whole lie that they're creating, she is injured a lot. Like, and that is why I don't think that I saw that coming, which made me feel really stupid when it did happen, because I was like, oh, you idiot, that makes sense. But every time that her and Henry have like this reuniting moment or whatever, and you're like, okay, you know, that happens in games a lot too. You know something's about to happen. But even in those moments, like something blows up and Estelle is thrown like 15 feet and then she just like awakens like a cyborg, but she's not.
That we know of.
Right, exactly.
Probably not.
Yeah. But that, to me, was like, she really puts herself in the line of fire.
So I think, I mean, definitely like this situation that we know of has not happened before. So as you said, the twist being that Estelle, married to Aiken, they do the same thing to every cyborg that they wake up.
Right.
So
Henry was their test. That's what he was saying.
I thought he was just in a line of...
No, he said, like, you were trying to... I don't remember exactly what Aiken's line was. It's not important. Again, it's one of his stupid monologues. But he basically, like, alluded to the fact that Henry was their test. Okay. And that now, tomorrow, when all the cyborgs wake up, they're going to have his same storyline because it worked for him. And that's when they start showing you all those videos of Estelle going, I love you, Charlie. I love you, Tommy, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, but how would they already have that footage? Like, we don't see what Henry's imagining.
Well, I would imagine they can just plug in the number or the name with technology. So they, like, give each of these workers... I really think
it's already happened.
Really?
Yeah, but Henry was, like, the rogue one.
I think that's your interpretation.
Because they have all of these other cyborgs, like, in the lab that are already up. And they all have the white thing on.
Right, but he woke them up. You see him talking to Henry in that room, and then he comes through that door, and he's like, with the upgrades that I put on these guys, they're going to make you look ridiculous, and then he, like, sicks them all on him. But he said, these guys are almost ready or something. I don't know. We don't have to, like, sit on it too much, but that was my interpretation, is that, because he said, like, you thought you were stopping history, but you were adding to it. Cool. So we did pause it so that we could do some research, and it was proven that I was right, but Pants is being stubborn and saying that.
I mean, I still don't think you're right. Because that's not the...
I got my info off of Wiki.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
That's how you know it's right.
Yeah, because nobody can change a wiki.
Exactly.
Okay, they're not editable by the public.
I mean, hello.
Hello what?
That's why it's a great resource.
That's why schools totally allow you to use that on a reference page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't allow you because they're like, you can't use this genius's work. Yeah.
No, that's not the rule. But agree to disagree.
Yeah. No, that's fine.
It's whatever. I'll look it up later and then
Sure. Yeah, I'm right.
I'll give you shit. So I'm probably right. But it's okay. Whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm right.
Probably.
Hey guys, Brian here. Just jumping in after the fact. I actually went back after recording to watch this part of the movie because I couldn't get it out of my head that Tina was right about this, and she is. So I will concede. So that's fine. Whatever. I'll take the loss. Congrats, Tina. This is your one. Now back to the show.
Oh, you're wrong.
Myself. That's
No.
right. But I just don't think it makes...
Anyway.
if you're right, then I like this movie a lot less. And it's not because you're right. It's because...
It sounds like it is.
That just kind of changes what the plot I thought was happening was. And I like that one better than the one you're describing.
Well, maybe it's because you don't understand what I'm describing.
Oh, you're not very good at explaining things.
Wow.
But...
Pants.
we should move on.
I agree, but you're being ugly.
You agree.
I am appalled by your language towards me.
I've not used bad language. But that's a good segue because they say pussy a lot in this movie.
What?
I haven't seen a movie in a while that I can remember where that's their default insult is everybody calls everybody a pussy.
Yeah.
Like Aiken tells Henry sometime towards the beginning that he's half machine, half pussy.
Oh, yeah, he did.
And I think his dad called him that also in one of the flashbacks. Called somebody a pussy.
He did, but it was like he was retelling a story, but yes.
Yeah.
And then the guy that he's chasing when he's at, when he went to that building to find, what was his name? Whatever, it's not important. Somebody else who he's chasing throughout the movie also was like, called him that. I don't like to say that.
Oh, are we
word.
not saying it?
I
Okay.
don't like to say it. I don't know why it bothers me.
I'll bleep it then.
Okay.
Okay.
You want me to just say it then? So you can... No, if I say it, you won't bleep it. Screw you.
If you say it, I could just go back and insert you saying it over me saying it.
I hate you. Oh my god. So I did want to point out something that I thought was really funny, unless you had something that you wanted to dive into real quick.
No, good.
I read online. Well, okay, let me back up. So when Henry jumps out of... Okay, he actually gets... he's trying to climb a rope to get into the helicopter, and the guy actually like cuts
Slices
the rope.
Mm-hmm.
And then he has like this really crazy fall, which a lot of the things in this movie, you're just like, I understand that he's a cyborg, but like, how is he still like functioning? But anyways, they have this like really cute music. To me, it kind of felt like a Disney opening scene where you're like watching like the people kind of just go about their day or whatever, and this black stallion like pulls up next to him, and you know, I don't know why, but it's implied that he like, oh, this is great, like you have transportation now, you know. He gets on top of the horse, and like the music kind of picks up a little bit, and then he kind of does a little gesture like he's gonna take off on this horse, and then he just gets bucked.
It lasts all of like 3 seconds that he's on the horse.
But I thought it was interesting because I read online that
I read the same thing.
oh, did you? That they were going to extend that scene, and they were actually going to have him leave on the horse, and then like the horse get eaten by rabid dogs or something awful like that, and then he was going to have to euthanize the horse. But they decided that wouldn't play over very well for the Western audience.
Yeah, and I'm glad they...
Yeah, that would
That
have been
wouldn't
too
have played
much.
up. Yeah,
No.
I wouldn't have liked that. No.
But I thought that some of the music choices in this were like really good. And
You want to
my
talk about
second
Queen?
one, yes.
Yeah.
So Henry finds an additional like battery from one of the more like high tech versions, I guess, of the cyborgs, like the new prototypes that Aiken is going to put out. He takes that, he installs it in himself. So it gives him kind of like this upper hand and like a little boost. He fights a bunch of people. Like, again, I think it was like 100 different cyborgs. And at some point in time, he falls and this little box ends up next to him that fell as well. And it says adrenaline on it. And then here comes in Queen.
Yeah. It was a good use of a Queen song in like a good action scene.
Yes.
It
Can't Stop Me Now, by the way, because we hadn't mentioned it yet. But yes, I really, and I was talking to Stefan about this a little earlier today. The first time that I remember them utilizing music like that was, why is it not Guardians of the Galaxy? I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
When they did the ooga chaga ooga. And like that played in so well with that trailer. And same thing with Hardcore Henry. Like, those really upbeat songs are really feel good, really good oldies, and then combined with something so violent and brutal actually made it kind of more lighthearted. And so I think that those scenes were better, again, until he pushed that man against a building and then dragged his brain down the side of it. Like, bleh.
It played a lot like a music video.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think the director of this, this was their first film. And they had done music videos prior. So it makes sense.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of how that whole scene, like from him like plugging the adrenaline in both of his legs and everything kind of slowing down.
Yes.
That whole sequence I thought was super entertaining.
Yes.
Like it was definitely like the climax, the final boss battle, if you want to do that.
Yes. I love how they just brought in that music. Like, I just think it was so perfect.
It worked. Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm sure that's where like a lot of their $2 million budget went, is getting the rights to using a Queen song. Because like the rest of the movie is, I think you said it's that one chick does the composing for it. So this kind of branched, from that mold.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure that's...
She had a lot of really good musical choices. Like, even throughout, I think that even with the fight scenes and things like that, like the music was pretty good. I think that was just a really big turning point, and it really worked well with it being, again, the climax of the film.
Yeah, because I mean that's pretty much the last scene of the movie.
Yes.
I mean that he goes in the helicopter afterwards with Estelle, and they have a tussle, and she's hanging out the door of the helicopter and begging for help, and he just like slams.
She says, "Think with your heart." And he looks up and grabs the door and slams it. And the last thing you hear is Estelle's scream, like fading out.
And credits.
But even before that, when they're up in the helicopter and she's like shocked to see him in there, she's like, "Where's Aiken?" And like he points at the
the half of his head that he has.
His head. I was like,
he holds it up. Doesn't
that's what he does. Yeah. Oh, that was pretty gruesome.
Yeah.
So
there is did you watch through the credits?
So I read about it, and
okay.
It's so funny because I don't typically read about movies, but there was a lot to this movie, and I had some time, so I decided to kind of dive into it, but I did read a little bit about it. So you go ahead.
So yeah, it's pretty much, there's not a scene really. It's just audio, and it's, Jimmy calling Henry and pretty much just saying that I forget the exact text, but
he has something else for him to do.
Yeah. Like
another favor.
Here's your next mission is pretty much all it is. So it's setting up for a sequel that never happened. That I really don't know if it will. I'm not honestly not sure if I want a sequel.
Without Jimmy, I don't think it would be as good.
Yeah, I mean, but Jimmy's in it. I mean, he would be in it if he's...
How would he be in it if he died, though?
Then how did he leave a message?
I'm not sure. Maybe
Was it the proto-baby?
I was about to say that. Maybe at this point it's a not proto-baby anymore.
I mean, but that would...
Oh, well, that it blew up when he blew up the lab. Okay, nope.
And then and then that would also beg the question, like, do all the clones and, like, the proto-babies have original Jimmy's memories? Because how would proto-baby know to call and tell...
I just hate that you keep calling him proto-baby.
Where did Henry get a cell phone? If he's dead, how did he get a plan?
Goodness.
Spirit holes.
How did he get a plan? Get out of here. God.
Who leaves voicemails anymore? Send him a fax. What was your favorite Jimmy?
For laughs, I think that my favorite Jimmy was Coke Jimmy.
Mm.
But definitely my favorite Jimmy was the one in the woods. Like the weed
The
smoking
pothead?
Jimmy. Yeah.
I definitely liked the I don't know if it would be called like a colonel or a
Oh yeah.
I don't know
I
what.
think he said that. He said, "Go
Colonel?
meet the colonel."
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, that one. I thought he was hilarious.
Yeah.
And he reminded me a lot of the Brigadier from Doctor Who.
Aw.
He had like the same, obviously, he wasn't Russian, but he had a, kind of the same uniform, definitely like the little mustache, same facial structure. I don't know if I've ever showed you a picture of him, but
I don't know.
he looked so much like him.
Really?
And then I thought the comedy from that Jimmy was on par.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
I liked it. Like he named all of his weapons and it was very stupid.
Yeah. I think it was him too that they were approaching Aiken's like compound or his lab or whatever the case may be. It's totally like there's not a person in sight, and he screams. He's like, "Aiken is a cunt," and that's his test to see if
it's empty
if
or
it's
abandoned.
empty.
Yeah. And he at one point when they're like going into some sort of fight, he like leans his head around the corner and they start like the enemies are like firing shots at him and his little hat gets just blown off and he's like, "Ooh, dodged a bullet there." Shut the fuck up. I liked him. He was funny. He needs a spinoff, but he's dead.
Yeah. Oh my god.
So yeah. Oh, also that Jimmy dies. Did we say that?
No, I don't think we did.
During like the escape to the rooftop or whatever for the final battle with Aiken, it shows original Jimmy in his chair and he has some piece of debris lodged in his neck. And the avatar of him that Henry is talking to is slowly dying because original Jimmy is dying. And, a few seconds later he dies.
Right. That was it was sad to kind of watch that. Jimmy had been like his, person throughout the movie. But you kind of knew that was coming because they foreshadowed it whenever Jimmy thought that Henry had betrayed him. And he was like, "Kill me. Like, Aiken won't kill me, and he'll just leave me in this meat suit." So he wanted to die.
I don't like that term.
What?
Meat suit.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's pretty uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Out of all the rest of the movie, I think that's uncomfortable.
Really?
Yeah, I don't like meat suits.
That's funny.
That's weird. But, Proto Baby came back.
Oh, yeah.
So I think we're good. Set up a sequel with Proto Baby. Mm-hmm. So do you think that the movie would have been as good or good at all had it been filmed like a normal action movie, not in his POV, but it's regular cameras?
I think the fact that it was from his point of view is what made the movie interesting. Because there are movies out there that are really bloody, really gory, that are not from, the first person.
Like Evil Dead.
And I don't know, something was different about it. The fact that you felt like you were that character while you're watching it, because again, it's like a game, right? That helped a lot. That kept my interest in it. I think that if it was like actually showing Henry and Jimmy and all that stuff, then it just would have been like any other movie.
Sure. I agree. Throughout the movie, I thought about how this would not hold up as a regular action movie filmed normally. Again, as you said, there's really next to no plot in this movie. And the only thing that I think drew people to see it is it was being advertised as being 100% in first person.
Yeah.
And I just don't think it would have gone like straight to DVD or whatever.
Well, I agree with you because again, there was no plot. The villain was annoying.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have wanted to just continue watching that. Henry would have had to probably actually have speech.
They would have had to cast somebody.
Yeah.
Like an actor, maybe.
Right. And then that probably would have hurt it, depending on who they were able to cast if people were going to watch it.
Yeah. They definitely, they made it work with what they had. Like, I think they were really smart about, we're pretty much shooting this completely with GoPros.
Yeah.
And
which I thought was really cool.
just use stunt guys, and we don't have to have, nobody in this movie is A-list. Like, there's no stars really in this movie. Again, I mean, Tim Roth I know of, and Jimmy I know of from District 9, as you said, but really there's nobody of substance in the movie, and it was fine. It was entertaining. Like, I don't know that it's something that I would go back and revisit, or if it's something I would have revisited if we weren't doing this.
Right.
But it was fine. It was fun. It was short.
Yeah.
I think that helped.
You know, my last little thing that I wanted to mention before we wrap this up is that I thought it was really interesting in the beginning. He was actually answering questions. I don't think he does very much throughout the rest of the movie. It was just kind of then. And in order for him to shake his head, like, he had to actually shake his head with the camera. But if you shake your head as a person, your eyes adjust. So, like, you wouldn't have that same, like...
I'm glad you brought that up, because I did want to comment on that, and I did not write it down. A lot of his movements, although entertaining, were not realistic. Like, the way that he was holding his firearms was very, like, bowed. So you could see his arms instead of, like, down, like, with it. A lot of people hold their guns with, like, their elbows kind of tighter in. That wouldn't have worked
For the kickback.
because we couldn't have seen anything. Right. So he had his arms completely outstretched and then kind of bowed outwards. And as you said, with his shaking of his hand or shaking of his head. And, you know, when he was trying to get people's attention and he was just, like, frantically, like, waving his hands or something. Oh, yeah. It was just all very overdone. Yeah. And they had to do I understand why they did it. Right. But that's just kind of where my mind is with stuff like this, is I'm going to try and pick it apart. And that's just not how people move. But whatever. He's also a cyborg. So yeah, I enjoyed it. Yeah. It was fun.
I don't know that I'll watch it a third time. It's a lot to take in.
Probably won't watch it a fifth.
I don't. I love that you just, like, overdo it until these.
Yeah, because I don't want to forget. I normally, like, watch them. I try and watch them earlier in the week, or, you know, I don't watch them the night before normally. And if I have time during the day of recording, I'll maybe try and watch it in the background just to refresh. Right. But I watch a lot of shit. And
that's true.
But between when I'm watching the movie for the show and our recording, I'm watching a bunch of stuff. And I just want to kind of keep it fresh. Because I also, like, with movies like this, I don't take a lot of notes. And as long as we're not going frame by frame through the movie, I have very short notes. So I just kind of do the highlights and whatever.
You watch a lot more than I do. Which is why a lot of these movies are truly your suggestions.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's slightly behind the scenes. We have a spreadsheet. I'm going to say but I have a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet that has, you know, columns for letters, and then, you know, probably like 6 movies per letter. Most of them are my suggestions. But
it's because you just have watched a lot more than I have.
Right.
And so I'm sure I'll have something down the line, but it's going to take me a while because you've watched.
Yeah. And I mean, and I want it to be as much as I'm totally down for just picking a movie neither of us has seen, like Left Behind. We went into that knowing it was going to be shit. Sure. Right. But I don't want to pick a movie out of nowhere and then it not really be something that we can talk about. Right. So, I mean, I don't want to pick, like, a masterpiece with no flaws.
Right. Because it'd be kind of hard to talk about it.
Right. We would just be like, this was great. See you next week. And that was The Last Jedi. So.
Yeah, the whole point is just to kind of make me and you watch movies that we normally wouldn't.
Mostly you.
But mostly me because, again, you've probably seen the majority of the things that I have seen. Whereas I don't know that I've even skimmed the surface on what you've watched.
Sure. So before we roll for next week, I wanted to ask, this is our 7th show so far.
Happy 7.
Okay. So can you give me a 1 through 7 ranking of the movies that we've watched thus far? 1 being the best, 7 being the worst.
Oh boy. Yep. Let's do this. Like 7-1?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Great. Go.
Alrighty. Coming in at number 7. You're not going to be happy about this. Evil Dead 2.
I don't trust you with movies.
I think out of all of them, but keep in mind that number 6 is Left Behind.
My number 6 is also Left Behind.
Nice.
So this ranking, by the way, is how we liked the movies, not the show we put out about the movie,
right,
or how much fun we had talking about the movie,
yeah,
right? So, because personally, I think we've had the most fun on the Left Behind episode.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like that always sticks out to me, and that's that's kind of like what I tell people to go to get a good feel of
yes,
what we're doing, because the naked babies. Number 5.
What was your number 7?
We're doing yours first. I'm just telling you where we matched.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Number 5 would be Hardcore Henry.
Same.
Oh, wow. I'm surprised. I'm curious to see number 7 for you, but okay. So number 4.
You really can't guess by that?
I'm not sure. It could be. I'm going to find out in a second.
Okay. All right.
Number 7 was Requiem for a Dream. Oh, wait. Did I just... Okay. Number 4 was Requiem for a Dream.
Same.
Okay. Number 3 was Wild Wild West.
Not the same.
Number 2 was Justice League.
Okay.
And then number 1 was The Last Jedi.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah, duh.
So where did we differentiate?
So my number 7 was Wild Wild West. It was just so bad in a way that, like, as I said, Left Behind was my number 6, and that was terrible.
Yes.
Like, but I think I had more fun watching it. Just because I was definitely more entertained with Left Behind than I was with Wild Wild West.
Okay.
But
I also came in as a fan of Wild Wild West because again, I grew up with it. It is a terrible movie.
Again,
it is a
with your
terrible
tastes.
movie. But I don't know if you would classify it as like a cult classic, but I very much.
Speaking of cult classics, let's get to my list. Yes. The right list. So.
Oh, wow.
Number 7, as I said, was Wild Wild West. 6, Left Behind. 5, Hardcore Henry. 4, Requiem for a Dream. 3 is Justice League, the Snyder Cut. 2 is Evil Dead 2. And 1 is The Last Jedi.
Yep. Wow. I would never put Evil Dead at number 2.
Well, that's because you have no taste. So, I mean...
Alrighty.
Maybe she's born with it.
1 out of 10 pants.
Fuck. I was so focused on the rankings. I forgot to think of one.
How many crypto babies? Proto babies would you give this movie?
Oh, poor Jimmy Proto Baby. 6.
Nice. So you're not like super indifferent about it. You are more on the you liked it side, but not a whole lot.
I'm so close to 5 though, but I don't want to do halves. But I feel like I liked it more than halfway there.
Gotcha.
So I'll go with 6, but I really mean like 5.5. So Tina.
Sir.
Christina. My best friend.
What are you gonna say? Now I'm scared.
How many knockable knockers
Stupid.
would you give this movie? Something we did not cover at all,
Really
which only people who would just have watched the movie would understand. Not my best. Go.
I think that I would also give it a 6. 6 knocking knockers.
6 knocking knockers.
6 knocking knockers.
That's like 3 full women.
Uh-huh.
Unless someone was born with a genetic defect.
I'm done with you. Anyways.
And they had 1 or 3.
Nope, stop. And again, because I'm not necessarily like neutral about it, there were a lot of things about this movie that I did like, but the fact that it didn't have a plot won't put it any higher.
Yeah. In order to get past 6, you have to have a plot.
Yes. If it were well developed, then I might give it a little bit more. But again, I am really close to 5 too. I might as well just put it at a 5. I don't like to be neutral, but like without a plot, the movie was just jam-packed with action.
To say there wasn't there really wasn't. No. But I mean, they kind of told you what he's going to do. I mean, his whole plot is to kill Aiken.
Yeah.
So I mean, as much as you want to say that I guess is a plot, but it's a very loose.
Yeah.
It's more of a goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that when I'm thinking about plots, like I want to see something that
with like act structures and development.
Exactly.
Jimmy had development
on any level, and Jimmy is the only one throughout this entire movie that even remotely comes close.
Praise the proto baby, as it were.
Oh wow.
All right, so are we rolling?
Oh yeah, it's your roll, right?
It is my roll. All right.
Alrighty, here we go. C for Christina.
Okay, fine.
We're gonna watch Cats.
Fuck that shit. I will never sit through that movie again.
Oh yeah, that was rough.
And we've both seen it. We saw it together.
That's true, but that's why I brought it up again.
And I hated it.
Is because it makes you very upset to talk about that movie.
Yeah, because it's
classic.
It's a train wreck. No, it's not a classic. Don't ever say that again.
If you don't already follow us on Twitter,
indeed,
definitely check us out at WTF Did I Watch Pod. And we will leak what we're going to be. That sounds very strange. I'm sorry. This is not a leak.
I'm just going to tell you.
We're going to tell you exactly what movie we're going to be watching this upcoming Friday. So I look forward to it. Panties?
Yeah, me too.
Do you want to hit them with all the different platforms they can listen to us on?
Yeah,
because
okay.
Sometimes it's a lot.
Yeah, it is. So if you guys don't already subscribe, you can do that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, and Stitcher. We are also on Google Podcasts. We have a few people listening on there as well.
Awesome.
So anywhere you can subscribe, go ahead and do it. If you are on Apple Podcasts and you could leave us a 5-star review and a nice little comment to the bottom, it really does help people to discover the show. And of course, spread the word, share your friends.
Yeah, and we love reading it.
Mm-hmm.
Reach out to us.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear you.
Indeed. If you have any movie suggestions, you can hit us up on Twitter. All right, guys, that will do it for this week. Yep, that's still all I got. So.
Thank you guys so much for listening. We appreciate it. Y'all have a great week, and we'll see you next Friday.
All right, bye, guys.
Bye. Prototype, baby. There's so many.
Is
panties.
there?
Yeah.
Oh God, I can't. It's not as easy.
How many little pussies would you give this movie?
But I'd have to bleep it. And you just said it. Now I have it.
Panties. No, we were just speaking. God, I hate myself sometimes.
I'm gonna put that over all the time.